Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at two of my favorite sort of team skeletons, let's say, for beginners. There's basically these two teams that I'm going to look at, or the two team cores, are going to be ones that use a bunch of ascended tier heroes that you can use at low ascension levels, or they use farmable heroes you get free copies of, and all that good stuff. So teams that are going to be accessible to a wider range of beginner players. But once again, if you get lucky in summons, you can use a completely different arrangement of teams. But these ones are just going to be those ones where if you have bad RNG, you can still manage to piece these together and get some good progression through all of early game. Pretty much when I'm talking early game, I consider myself just into mid game at chapter 22. So, you know, you're looking at chapter 20ish, you can use these teams to at least, and even push further beyond that. So they're going to carry you through a long time, especially if you're free to play through the game. So let's get into the video. So we're going to look at a couple comps here. I'm on my main account, even though it's in a later stage of the game. We're looking at it here just because I have the heroes that I can demonstrate here. So the first team we're going to look at is going to be basically a Wilder support team. So using at least 3 Wilders to give you a faction bonus, and these are the 3 main ones you're going to look at. Plus early game, you're going to add in, let's just go to this to make it easier, you're going to add in an Arden into the picture. So basically, you can do this team 2 ways. You can actually just use the 4 of these guys. And now the fantastic thing about this is, like in your first couple of days, you're not going to have Nomura, Leica, and Tassie. You're just not going to. And Arden, you don't really want to use him till level 81 when he starts entangling 2 enemies. That's when he starts getting decent. Level 141 is when he starts entangling 3 enemies and gets really, really nice. But you want to use either 3 or 4 of these. Now, if you're using 4 of them, you can use Tassie or Nomura in the front row if they are decently ascended and have some good gear, basically. They can both be helpful. Sometimes, even on the new account I'm playing, I have a Nomura and she sits in the front row with Jura's Call on her because it sort of gets her to a heal before she dies, and it just helps the whole team. And then you can also use Tassie because she'll get attacked a couple times and then teleport away, and you'll be okay. If you don't want to use all 4 of these guys, you can always just do this, drop it, and this is the most common one I use on new accounts. I just don't use the Nomura because I like to have enough CC and pressure that I can basically heal the enemies before I require a heal. As for the last 2 slots, a very common one, and I see Chimera getting a little bit of dislike lately in some places. But if I can find her on this account, there she is, my level 4 Chimera, don't ask. Chimera is a great one. For me, even though Chimera, a lot of people say she's not good until level 161, I like her the whole time, just because the pure fact that you run this Wilder support team with her to get enough CC that she can get to her ultimate. And then basically, the great thing about Chimera is once she does use her ultimate, she can get CC'd. It doesn't matter what happens, as long as she doesn't die, obviously. But she can get CC'd, the ultimate's going to keep doing damage, and then as long as that ultimate manages to finish, she's going to get the heal, ult again, and so on. Even though at level 161 plus, she will start healing herself while the ultimate's going, and it gets really, really nice. I still think for early game, the fact that you can also target her from the Labyrinth store, she is still my favorite option. Just because the ease of getting her, and just the pure fact that once she's ulted, it doesn't really matter. And when you run her with the proper support team, it's just really effective in supporting her. So like I said, you can have this team with like a Nomura or a Tassie in the front row. Otherwise, you can throw something else in. If you've got another tank that's decently built, feel free to go for it. Obviously, a Graveborn or a Wilder would be nice, but you've got 2 other really good options in. The first one being Lucius. Lucius is just amazing. Even though with this comp, you're only going to get basically a single faction bonus. So if we look here, you're only going to get the 10% attack and 10% HP. However, Lucius is so nice, especially if you do have him decently ascended. And a lot of this final position hero depends on what heroes you do pull. It depends what you have ascended higher, and basically because higher ascension gives you just more tanky stats. So that's going to be the hero you want to put there. But Lucius is a really optimal option that you can use. You can even play around with Rowan. He has this unique ability where he's manages to avoid damage on one turn. And when you put him here, he sets up a stall with potions. And with those potions, the only one it's not going to hit is the Tassie in the top left here. But however, Tassie, and this is why I like doing this with the Tassie in this sort of formation, is that once the Tassie teleports, she may be in range of his potions, and then you can still heal everyone from that spot. And then we've also got things like Brutus as a fantastic option, even if you only have a Brutus at Elite. I think it's level 141 where he starts getting good as well, because he starts getting a 7-second invincibility instead of dying. Before that, it's only 4 seconds, but it's still not bad, so he is an option. But once again, this final slot really does come down to whoever you have at High Ascension, and this Chimera slot can be swapped out for whoever you do use as your main damage dealer. It doesn't matter who you've decided is your main damage dealer. Normally, that main damage dealer is the one that you're going to be ascending further than others, and that's why Chimera is good for this, because once again, you can farm her from the Labyrinth store and get the copies so that she is easy to do it with. But you know, if you have another damage dealer that you're using, normally because they are the one you're pushing the levels the furthest, that's the one you want to have in there, because they're naturally going to be your tankiest hero. So that is the first beginner comp that we're looking at. It's basically that wilder support team with a Chimera, and it's really solid. The next team that we're going to look at, and this is more RNG based, is going to be the Lightbearer based team. So basically it's going to involve Lucius again. Once again, he is a fantastic tank and really nice to use. Rowan's another one. And I want to say again, you may not pull these guys straight away, but the wish list is really effective in that every hero you have on the wish list, you are guaranteed to pull from your normal summons. The purple stones and the selective summons aren't included in that, but hopefully eventually you'll be able to piece together one of these teams. And then also Belinda. On the 7th day of login, everyone gets a Belinda. She's a really nice damage dealer. I don't like her as much just because she has a really, in my opinion, a really bland art style, and I don't like looking at her as much, but she's just a really nice damage dealer that you get a guaranteed Elite Plus copy of, meaning you get a guaranteed Legendary copy. So she can be a great main damage dealer, and because you do get those copies, and she's probably going to be your main damage dealer, you can actually try and slot her in that front row early game, and if you level her above the rate of everyone else, she can actually survive there pretty well. Past that, you have Forks, who is another great option in this team. Pretty much just because he banishes the most powerful enemy for 7 seconds. It basically with skill ups it changes, but he banishes the most powerful enemy, which is really nice, giving you some real solid CC in that sense. Also, his ultimate, it's going to remove debuffs from your allies. It's going to remove buffs from enemies. Really handy for fighting enemy Brutus and Lucius and all those good things that are just really annoying to fight against. And for the final position, you can pretty much put anything. For something else that you can do as well is you can put the Belinda in the back row, and because we're talking early game as well, you can always just throw in a Hogan. I mean, in the first couple of days, you know, you get a free Elite Hogan, you'll probably make another one. You can get him to Elite Plus really quick. You can pump him up to Legendary Plus and then feed him later on, but he's definitely a good option to use in those really early days because, you know, he's got a bit of CC, he's got some tankiness, and he can just be a bit of an effective tank that you can then feed later on, so building him isn't going to be the end of the world. But if you're not going with him, if you're going with that Belinda in that slot, you can play around with things like Rosaline. She's not a bad option, but also you could put anything in that final slot. You know, if you don't like your Belinda being down there, you can play around with throwing a Brutus in there. If you've got a Brutus, even only Elite, once again, he has that fixed survivability. Rip, I just did that. Beyond that Brutus, it's just basically anything else you have it at a high ascension and high level, and it'll pretty much make it work. So that is going to be it for my two main beginner teams sort of thing that it's sort of easy for anyone to build. It's just sort of teams that, you know, you can use heroes at just Elite, or, you know, heroes you get copies of like the Belinda, or you can farm like the Chimera. I just feel like they're effective teams that anyone can get into. So any other ideas for some beginners for beginner teams, let me know in the comments below. Check it out if you are a new player to see if anyone else has got some good ideas down there. I just find Graveborn and Mauler not as easy to use early game because a lot of them do like to be high level and ascended to function, but a lot of them can actually work as your carry hero if you do pull enough copies. So that is going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.